Hello, everyone. Nubkeks here. It's Bank Holiday Easter Monday, but I'm back with more news. That's right. That's right. Two news videos today. So much for a day off. Next Monday can be a day off, maybe. We've got news on the summoning events coming with CvC. Actually, before I dive into that, I just quickly want to go over. I thought this would be fun. Ash does this in some videos. I thought this would be kind of fun. And by the way, I will be streaming for CvC tomorrow. But these are like some of the games that I'm looking at. I actually was thinking about this because I actually ended up picking up Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Switch this morning. I've been playing a little bit of that today. If when I'm not recording videos about Raid for my day off, that's been kind of fun. These are some games that came out this year. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Avowed is a strong maybe. I definitely want to play this. I love the first game. Split Fiction, definitely want to play that with my girlfriend. Then Oblivion remake apparently coming out, Expedition 33, and then I never played the newer Zelda games on Switch. Actually, I'm an old school Zelda fan. I was always skeptical, but I probably will pick them up for Switch too. But that might be, I might get that for Christmas or something. That's probably a ways off. But these are coming out soon, and then these are some of the games I'm excited about for later in the year: Ghost of Yotei, GTA 6, Greedfall 2, Metroid Prime 4, and Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky remake. So I don't know, what games are you guys looking for? What have been your favorite games so far of 2025? Let me know. I know Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has been a massive hit with people who played it, but that's sort of where I am at. Yeah, right. Let's dive in. Let's talk about the summons for CvC. And here we go. We've got 2 different days of 15x progressive chance events, and they're juicy. I think particularly Tuesday is very good. I think Wednesday's a good bit weaker. Let's go through the champs one by one. Let's do a Nubs meta dive into how I feel these champs are performing at the moment. So first up, we've got Teox. Legate Teox, extremely good. I did a faction unity ranking 2 or 3 days, 4 days ago, 5 days? I don't know, last week sometime. And I have him at number 2 overall. And incidentally, who's number 1? It's the guy, Volcanos Fumor, who's coming out on Wednesday. So yeah, Teox is incredibly good. Massive damage dealer. He has a lot of potential with his passive to build like specific niche teams for Classic Arena, Tag Team Arena, Lizardman teams for Siege, and even Classic Tag Arena. Very powerful. And he's a monster, particularly with his A1. I actually think his A1 is honestly actually a bit overtuned. It's a little bit overpowered because what you actually do, this A1 is so strong. He has a 16 times. Now you need to have 3 other lizards in there, but he has a 16 multiplier, including all of the hits on his A3 when it's fully activated, which is like a standard AoE. I would say is about a 4 times multiplier. He has a 16 times multiplier, but his A1 is so strong that you don't even bother using this in Hydra, right? You don't. You do his A2 like twice manually to give him 50% more attack, and then he just spams his A1. His A1 is just ridiculously strong. I think, like I said, I think this is actually too strong. But it means that he is. I don't think it's ever going to be nerfed either. But I think he's amazing. Very, very good. One of the best faction unities. Extremely strong. So yeah, needless to say, he is absolutely worth pulling, no question. Harima up next. I actually think I think her passive actually is also overpowered, actually. And again, I think it's something that they're probably never going to change. But I wish that this should have been weaker in the first place. Just to mention that quickly, I think ignore defense in this game and defense in general, in my opinion anyway, in terms of game design and balance, has sort of gone a bit crazy. It's gone too far for me, where you've got, I think, so many champions now in so many game modes because of area bonuses that can reasonably be hitting like 100% ignore defense, and they just keep adding more. And it's kind of weird. It's like, what's the point of the defense stat? Like, if they added another difficulty of Hydra, let's say, I mean, there's almost no point in increasing the defense stat. Like, you're almost hitting true damage half the time anyway. Weird. Very weird. What's the point of the decreased defense buff sometimes in some of these teams? I don't know. Gets a bit odd. I really feel like we have far too many sources of ignore defense. And incidentally with this, I think that this is a cool effect. I think it probably should be like 25%, not 50. 25%. Still ridiculous. But Harima literally in Arena probably makes you do about 1/3 damage. for some champions. It's crazy how much of an effect this has. It massively neuters damage because, again, ignore defense is just a bit overtuned, I think. I think this should have been weaker, and I actually think it's kind of weird that we have so many sources of ignore defense for us, but we have so few sources of this. Harima, there's also a gem. Now there's one mythical gem that makes ignore defense weaker, and that's about it. Very few effects, weirdly few, I think, to make ignore defense weaker. It's a bit odd that Harima's the only way, and she's 50%. It's crazy. Anyway, that's my thoughts about that. She's also very good against Duchess because she can't weak hit Duchess, which is cool. And she's strong against several of the demon spawn crit DPS who cannot crit her, which is powerful as well. She's a fun champ. She's got decreased attack A1 alongside the ignore defense mitigation and an AoE provoke. So she's got bringing a lot of tankiness to your team. She's very slow, but she hits very, very hard. She's got AoE nuke on a 3-turn, big single target nuke on a 3-turn that can trigger the AoE nuke. And then she's also stacking up her defense and decreasing enemies' defense. Very, very strong, kind of ninja-esque scaling that makes her very powerful. Yeah, she's not going to do as much damage as like a ninja or a Toshiro, but, well, it depends on affinity, I suppose. On positive affinity, she will. But she does bring a lot of tankiness, a lot of survivability and control to your team, which is pretty cool. She's great champion, very strong, very, very strong. So Harima... I think she's definitely been power crept in the sense that she's still ridiculously good and her defensive benefits are ridiculously good, but we've so many crazy OP champions. Like the power surge in the last year or two has been insane. Probably the last 1 year, the level of champions we have now for Arena is crazy. Like Arman's only came out a year ago, right? And Korra and Narcissus only came out just over a year ago. So much has changed. Harima is still really good, but there's a lot more viable options. She's still probably one of the best defense nukers for Arena. Alaz is probably better, but she's very, very good. Lilitu, really good champ as well. Lilitu definitely fell off a good bit, but I think she's made a bit of a comeback because of Volcanos, really. But she's decent, right? I think one of her problems is she doesn't have any turn meter on her revive, and that's really holding her back these days. She just really... Because, again, there's so much offensive potential in the game. It's like, yeah, you bring them back with 70% HP in Veil, but you're so in danger of just dying anyway. But she's still a great champ. So I should personally say I would value Harima more. I'd much rather have Harima, than have a Duchess, but she's still really, really good. She's a great support. Very tanky, great passive. Yeah, she's good. Next up, we have Rotus. I mean, this day is absolutely jam-packed. It's crazy. Rotus is amazing as well. Again, he really struggled for a bit there because he was countered by UDK and countered by Harima. Now, they still counter him just as much as before. However, again, because there's just so many more OP champions in the game, it means that those Harima and UDK, who basically hard counter Rotus, they really make him terrible. They just get picked far less often. There's a much bigger opportunity cost to using those champions as opposed to the newer, more OP champions, which has given Rotus a bit of a way back in. The dude's insane. Like I've got a 6-star Fralny, mythical, magic affinity, who's very similar to Rotus, scales up as the fight goes on and he kills people. I find it difficult to justify, often do find it very difficult to justify using Fralny when I could just use a Rotus. He's nuts. He scales so well with relics, so well with 6, 9, and 9 pieces of Merciless. He's nuts. Very, very strong. And he's good for bosses as well, for soloing bosses. Just tanking them through, smacking them, doing big damage. He's a really good champ. He's got terrible base speed. It's probably about his only weakness. And funny enough, he scales really well off flat HP, but not HP percent. So you want like attack percent and then flat HP on some of the ascensions, like, you know, ascending your weapon with oils and stuff. You want flat HP to make him tankier and trigger this stuff. I personally think he could be ridiculous with Death Dealer, by the way. Just triggering his passive and not weak hitting anymore. That could be insane, actually. So that's one to watch for the future. Rotus, he's very good. I personally, if you said, Nub, I'd trade you Duchess for your Rotus, maybe I'd take that trade because I do have a Fralny, but let me be honest, I'd rather have Rotus. I actually feel like he's somewhat similar to Harima, actually. Very similar in value, even still. Nishak is also amazing. And again, I'd probably rather have the Nishak than the Duchess, honestly. Nishak, very relevant for a lot of players for Arena. Bombs are very, very powerful, and Commodus is extremely difficult to get. Nishak is the best bomber apart from him. It's the AoE bombs, and then reducing their duration. Boom, boom, boom. He even turns them into poisons after, and with lethal dose, he can do a lot of poison damage. But yeah, Nishak is very powerful as a bomb damage dealer, extremely relevant in Arena. If enemies don't have a way to counter bombs, he just destroys them. So he is actually super, super good. Then we come to the Voids, Marishka, Yumiko, and Narcisse. They're actually in order of what my preference would be. Marishka, I'd be putting her definitely equal to Teox, actually, if not a slight bit more than Teox. That's a tricky one. Teox is probably a bit more usable in PvE for bosses and stuff. Teox sort of shines a bit more, but Marishka is better for Arena. I'll put them sort of equal for now. I'll put Marishka a tiny bit higher. I would, if I had a choice between Marishka and Teox, I probably might pick the Marishka. I think she's fantastic. Great speed aura, crazy base speed. But her passive protects from bombs and poisons and burns. And I think with Stone Skin, just more, the more of this stuff that gets added, right, the stronger it gets. She's amazing for Siege. She has remained relevant for forever in Arena defense. Her and Taras, again, it's crazy to think they're like 2 or maybe 3 years old at this point, and they are still top tier. Like, they were ungodly overpowered when they came out. It was absolutely absurd. And a lot of people quit the game because of it, because for 1 or 2 years, it was literally Arena was just Taras Marishka. Nothing else could compete. Now, again, we've got many more options. I think they still hold relevance. And Marishka, particularly in Arena, holds relevance for just having the absurd ability to sustain your team. Arguably the best A1 in Arena in the game. It's up there for sure. And a crazy passive revive and a crazy block damage, stopping burns and poison teams, and bombs and burns particularly. Very strong. Yeah, and the speed aura. Very, very strong. She's nuts. Yumiko is really good. I'd say probably similar to like the Rotus Harima. It's a little bit tricky to quantify. She's great for Arena. Now, one thing, maybe a slight mark against her, if you just got Fabian does in Arena most of what Yumiko does. They're a little different. Yumiko has the advantage of resetting your faster champions, and that's cool. Yumiko can also reflect stuff back, which is good against Polymorph and good against bombs and stuff like that. So she's pretty cool. But Fabian does a lot of stuff too. I mean, I think they're pretty interchangeable, honestly. Now, Yumiko has the advantage for dungeons and stuff of giving you a reset, and that's very powerful. And in Hydra, giving you a reset, and 2 Yumikos can reset each other. That's a pretty big deal. But you do need 2 of them, which is tricky to really start chaining resets like crazy. But he's amazing, really, really good. And Narcisse, I would say Narcisse is, I'd honestly say he's relatively similar to Nishak, honestly. Maybe a touch stronger, but not much. Nishak, Nishak and Narcisse, both very relevant. Both a little bit niche. Like, again, Narcisse, he's a great champion. Yeah, he's just a really solid champion, but he's particularly good if they have shield or strengthen. Now, if you're fighting enemies without shield or strengthen, not so good. He can also ignore passives with this A2, which is very useful. But yeah, he also, he thrives a bit with Ancora on the same team, which is pretty powerful. She can protect him, give him an extra turn. He has a block revive chance. He's a very solid champ, very solid. But, he relies a little on Ancora. And again, sort of the thing with him is, while he's very solid, there are just more stronger champions now. That's sort of the issue. Is it's not that Narcisse has got worse. It's that just, the competition has really gotten so much more powerful. Like now you're up against, instead of Narcisse, you could be up against the Shadow Thief instead. And that's just another level of crazy. Or Empress. It's another level, really, I would say, overall. But he's still very good and a very, very hard counter to shield and strengthen champions. He really rips them apart. It's very difficult to survive. Almost impossible, I would say, against Narcisse when you're stacking shields and strength, and he just rips you apart. So a very strong selection. Again, I'd be saying like Marishka number 1, Teox number 2, and then sort of pick your poison. I think Harima, Rotus, Yumiko, all fantastic. I think Nishak and Narcisse, great pulls. I think Duchess is totally viable too. She's the smallest line here, but this is, I'd be giving like a single dot or nothing, a blank space to a lot of champs. We might see some here. So she's doing really well. We come to Wednesday. Volcanos, he definitely gets number one for me on Wednesday. He is the best champion on Wednesday. This guy is a monster. In my opinion, the best faction unity. Kind of overpowered, honestly. His passive is bonkers. One demon spawn is all he needs. That's part of why it's so strong and makes him relevant in Classic, in Live Arena as well. Very few faction unity champions are actually good in Live Arena. Uh, he only needs one demon spawn. So you can like pick a Volcanos, throw in like a Carnage or a Commodus or a Duchess, and you can build a very strong team. Lamasu as well. You've got multiple top tier options. Makes it very, very Cheshire Cat. Very difficult to deal with him because it's, you ban him away, but then they've got Commodus. You ban the Commodus, they still have Vulcan. It's really tough. This passive is crazy good. Just that one faction ally for Arena. Then for PvE content, so more so for like Hydra, AoE content, but you put him in with like a Sissia Flametongue as the perfect compatriot, where she's got AoE burns, and she can activate the burns with decreased defense weaken as well. But he can then stack up a bunch of ignore defense and just start slamming out the damage, particularly with his A3. He can really, really hit hard and keep resetting this skill and ignoring stuff, and he just smacks like a truck. So he becomes a very powerful damage dealer with Sissia in a demon spawn team. He's got a lot of potential for bosses. Not so much single target, still probably good single target, but particularly for AoE. Artak, good champion. A very good champion, actually. Artak, particularly good. Again, like, you've got more options these days, but just placing AoE burns, then decrease attack and activating. Amazing for Ice Golem. Because he's, sort of making himself tankier, healing him. You can give him regen set and healing himself back up. The decreased attack especially will keep him alive, and he can just tank through and kill with the burns and burn activation. Very good. Really good for Ice Golem. Not that much used late game anywhere else, but I tell you what, you get him early game, and placing those AoE burns and activating them is going to rip through Spider. It's going to really help you with progression in Hydra, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, Artak, he's a great champ. He gets a pretty strong rating from me, purely off the fact that he is so good against Ice Golem hard, and makes doing that a lot easier. I expect he's probably going to just sort of fall off the further the game goes, though. Cupidus, I'm not a fan of Cupidus. I think Cupidus and Venus kind of suck as a combo. Cupidus is just not that good. And again, with the ever-increasing power creep in the game, he scales really well off counterattacking. That's just not really been something that's been relevant, right? Like, we have just got faster compared to Hydra. It's just, I just don't think it's that good, honestly. I just don't think it's that good. He self-buffs increased attack, which is nice. And then he's got AoE burn, which again is nice. He's a good early pick, but I think late game he struggles. He does have very good base speed, which is nice, but his damage not great. Lots of AoEs. He can self-buff. The burn is useful, but I wouldn't super recommend going for him, honestly. Michinaki, very good champion. Very respectable. Maybe even a bit better than Artak, actually, overall. Michinaki, good damage and tons of utility. AoE buff removal and AoE hex. AoE decreased defense and AoE decreased attack. And then doing a bunch of ally attacks, placing burns, and doing some decent damage. So yeah, he does, his personal damage isn't absolutely bonkers, but it's very good. But it's really the utility, all the support effects that he's bringing to your team. And it's just that value is super high. So he's great. Really great champion. He actually combos very well, I should say. Michinaki combos particularly well with the fusion that is coming to an end. Goes really well at Lysanthier. Lysanthier is decreased speed and weaken. If they're under Hex, he's super reliable at that. So he's like bringing you half the debuffs. That you just need an increased speed from somewhere, and you've got almost everything covered for Hydra just with the two of them together. I guess you need an increased defense, increased speed champ, or a couple of champs probably to go with them, but very good. So yeah, Michinaki, he's very, very solid. Very solid. Sissia is also really good. Probably not quite as good as Michinaki, but she's still very, very good overall. AoE burn, extra turn if she puts it on everybody. That's tricky to trigger though because of her affinity. Then she has AoE weaken. She can put out decreased defense fairly reliably, and then activating burns as well, which is nice. She can extend burns in her A1. Just combo with Cardial. You don't see that used too often, but it is a thing. And she's got bad base speed, unfortunately. She's got she's very squishy as well. She's got lots of damage stats, but you're typically building her more for the support effects than for her actual damage. But she can do a bit of damage. Tricky to keep alive, but I mean, AoE burns, decreased defense, weaken is a really good combo, and she's particularly good with Volcanos and pretty good with Cardial. So she's got some relevance there. Then the Voids, Sulfurion, Supreme Galek, and Riho. I'd say Sulfurion is the best of these, and I'd say he's probably not quite as useful as Yumiko overall, but I'd probably take him over a Narcisse, honestly. Sulfurion is cool. So Sulfurion comes in, good base speed, but particularly when HP burns are placed, he combos incredibly well with Gizmak. So Gizmak burns the enemy team. He can't stop it, apart from, I guess you could stop it with like a immunity set or feral set 4-piece. Yeah, he'll just give you turn meter. So you can make Gizmak just auto turn meter boost everyone. Then he's healing you when burns are activated. He can place decrease resist. He can start getting turn meter boost and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, Gizmak puts out the burns. This guy gets a whole bunch of extra speed from it. And then he can come in, and then he can place burns for 3 turns, which will again turn meter boost everyone, another 20% in arena. Then he can activate all those burns, which will destroy Stone Skin if you've got a big enough Incinerate Blessing, and give you a shield. And yeah, then you're laughing like you're good. He also has an AoE Revive for good measure. So he's got a ton of value in arena as a Stone Skin Destruction Champion / Speed Booster. Very good Speed Booster, Stone Skin Destroyer, and Reviver. Yeah, very strong. Does require the Incinerate Blessing to really shine. He's also just a good general support for dungeons and things like that. Very good for Spider because, again, he's placing burns on everyone and exploding them and giving your team a big shield. And he brings Revive and he's giving you turn meter. It's just sort of everything you want as well, just in general. So he's a phenomenal general support. Supreme Galek, I'm not a big fan of Supreme Galek, honestly. I've got him. I know you get him for free from like a promo code right now. And I think he's amazing if you get him early on because he's Void Affinity burns, which is great. So AoE burns, block buffs. That's really nice for progression on a 3-turn. He can do decreased speed, but it's got this annoying condition if their turn meter's high. He can self-buff, increase attack, and activate the burns. His A1 could do some damage. He's got a cool passive. But he's quite interesting. You could build him as a pure nuker. You could use him for arena as a damage dealer. You can build him as a sort of hybrid damage dealer / debuffer for PvE. Intensive enough to build, to be fair, right? If you want to get him in like 6-piece Merciless and still have enough accuracy to do this stuff. He could be pretty good. I don't know. I'm being sorry, I need to rank him up a bit. He's probably better than Sisya overall. Probably similar value to Michinaki. I'll put Michinaki a little higher just because of the ease of use of his utility. But Supreme Galek's interesting. Great champ. He can be, I don't know. I feel like he struggles a bit late game. I definitely need to revisit him at some point in like a proper top tier build and see what the dude can do if I get a big soul for him or something. And then Riho Bone Spear, very solid. I think she's actually fallen off a little bit. She's very solid. Again, I put her probably similar to Supreme Galek, maybe a bit better. Maybe the same as Michinaki. I don't know. That's a tricky one to judge precisely. The reason I say she's fallen off, she is an amazing single target debuffer. So particularly good for Iron Twins, particularly good for Sand Devil, Phantom Shogun, and she's pretty darn good for Chimera. Now, the slight problem is that they nerfed Shogun and they nerfed Sand Devil, so she's really not that needed there anymore. You don't really need her. They're fairly easy dungeons now, actually, once you get later in the game, so she lost a good bit of value there. The bosses that were toughest, that she was best against, got nerfed. Now, she is very nice for Chimera. She brings you a lot of debuffs, and she brings you a cleanse and a big heal as well. It's very good. Lots of healing. Very, very good. Very solid. The only issue that she faces is that there's a good bit of overlap at the moment with Lydia. Now, this should improve in the future. But right now, just in terms of trials, Lydia really does dominate as your decreased defense weakened champion because she brings you block active skills for Viper, and she brings you fear for Ram. So she opens up a lot of the base level trials that you need to do to get to the other ones. It's very hard to not bring Lydia, is what I've found, which means it's kind of hard to bring, because I mean, if you bring Riho instead of Lydia, where are you going to get block active skills? Where are you going to get fear? There's just not that many good options. Now, what we might see in future, in fact, we likely will see in future, is when they add more Chimera specialists, whenever that happens. We've got 3 Hydra specialists of the first 4 fusions of 2025. 3 Hydra specialists. I don't know why, but we have. Whenever they decide, actually, wait, hang on, no, we released Chimera in December. We didn't release Hydra in December. We released Chimera. Oh yeah, we should put some champs for Chimera, right? Whenever they do that, she could really jump up the rankings there. And when they add more good true fear champs, they've added a lot of fear champs recently, but none of them are really great for Chimera. I'd say Mad Hatter's quite darn strong, but he's also quite unreliable. He only sort of fears it for the first turn of Ram. It's not that useful. Yeah. Anyway, you get the gist. She has a lot of potential when we get more block active skills and true fear champs and stuff that could replace Lydia and open up that slot for more people. And then she could be amazing. I mean, HP burn, decreased defense weaken, decreased stack, decreased crit rate. Like, are you serious? It's crazy. So because of that, you know what? I'm going to rank her up. I'm going to put her up. I'm ranking her highly, but that's sort of a future thing. I mean, this is a bad idea, potentially, because you go, oh, this champ will be great in the future when they add in new stuff, but it could be months until that happens. And by the time they add new stuff, they could, one of the new champs they add that's amazing for Chimera might be like, oh, well, they do half of the stuff that she does, but then, yeah, I don't know. They could do another Lydia-esque, Riho Bone Spear-esque champion. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm replacing Lydia, but I still can't fit Riho into the team that easily. I don't know. It might happen. But yeah, I think Riho is very solid. And she'll be crazy for Faction Wars. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on that. I'd be recommending Volcanos and Sulfurion. I'll say Riho number 3. He's a clear number 3. And over here, the number 3 is not so clear. That's sort of my thoughts on this. I mean, remember, it is just a progressive chance event. It depends where you are with shards and whatnot and whether you're going for it. You might be fairly okay with shards. Remember, I was talking about I'm not too enthralled at all with the Titan event, really not taken with it. So this seems like a fairly easy skip. So it's kind of like going, or kind of chill for 2 weeks. You kind of have 2 weeks to rebuild your reserves, ready for the next fusion and following events, depending on what they run in these 2 weeks, of course. But, the Titan event incentive, I think, is pretty poor. So that takes a lot of stress off. You might have a few extra shards to pull. So some of these might be worth chasing. I keep bringing up games tab by accident. Whoops. Yeah, so there you go. These are sort of what I would be looking at. I think that, yeah, Marishka, Teox, and then Volcanos, Sulfurion are probably the ones to look for. And again, between the 2 days, I'd give the edge to Volcanos and Marishka. I'd say Volcanos, Marishka are my 2 top picks for this one. That are just kind of crazy. Genuinely kind of crazy. So there you go. Let me know what you think. And yeah, do you agree with the meta take or not? Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.